Okay, so we're going to start with the first lesson, which is a very simple lesson. And the outline, the approach to these lessons are going to be we're going to learn specific ideas or proverbs, as Michi called them, which you want to apply when playing. And we're going to focus on the opening, the early game. It's most important to get that right as best you can. And so the difficulty is that there are all sorts of, there are a number of proverbs or guidelines, rules of thumb that are very important to understand. But when do you apply which? Some of them will contradict each other or give you two options, and you have to select them. So, but let's start with the basic ones first, and we'll go over some examples and then give you some practice, and then we'll go through them all and then show you how to choose which is the best one of all the options available. The first one is probably the simplest one, and the proverb is simply hit. Hitting your opponent early on is usually a very good idea. In fact, it's almost always the right thing to do, particularly in the outfield. This is your opponent's outfield. You want to hit out here, so the right play with the 5-3 is to move this one. First 3, and then 5, putting your opponent on the bar. And the reason hitting is so correct at the game is that backgammon is a game of a race ultimately. And the objective is to get your checkers off before your opponent says. So if you can hit your opponent in the outfield, you pick up a lot of advantage in the race. So down here in XG, it shows the pip count. And the pip count is basically how far are you away from getting all your checkers off. And we've now gone up by 19 pips. We're at 159, our opponent's at 178. That's a huge lead. The second advantage to hitting is that it puts your opponent on the bar. Now that your opponent has to use one roll of his dice just to come in. And that means that he can't do anything useful or is less likely to do anything useful. Now, the most useful thing that your opponent can do here is to hit you back. So if he comes in with 4, he'll hit you back. But if he comes in with, say, a 4-6, he can't hit you back because he's got to use the 4 to come in, and the 6 has to go someplace else. And if he gets another number, whatever number he gets, barring doubles, he can't do something useful like make a point here or a point there or something else. So hitting does two things. It puts your opponent farther back in the race, and it wastes the roll for him. Now, when we say the first proverb is, hit if you can, we're mostly talking about what's called your opponent's inner board, your opponent's outfield, and even in here, our outfield. Those are primarily what we're talking about. Now, we're also going to talk about in the next lesson some of the key points, which are what's called the bar point on the 7, the 5 point, and the 4 point. We're usually going to hit there too, but that's falls under a different proverb. Now, generally, we're not going to hit in the 1, 2, and 3 points because that's a little too deep. And if we hit there, our opponent on the bar can hit us back right away, and then we'll go way back in the race. So when we're talking about hitting, we're usually talking about anywhere from the inner board outfield to our outfield. Okay. Let's look at the second example. So what do you do here? Well, we've only talked about one thing, so you're going to hit. This is 6, so you move 2, and then 4, and now your opponent's on the bar. We picked up, we're now 17 pips ahead, and our opponent has to waste a roll to come in. Now, the thing, there are other things, good plays that you can do with the 4-2. will show you. You could make this play. Move that one 4. That's also a very strong play, in that you're making a very good point, which we'll cover in the next proverb. But hitting is better early on, because it disrupts your opponent and gives you a big break sleep. When we can check this and really answer to all questions, is XGs. And so hitting is by far superior to this play. Even though this makes a strong point, hitting gets its way up in the race and disrupts our opponent's game plan. Let's do another example. For instance, one here. That one doesn't belong. Let's try this one. One thing we should be looking at here. Hitting, what do you do with this? Well, you know one property is hitting. We're going to come out here and hit, putting him on the bar. Now we're at 21 pips. And again, there was another good play. We could have made 2 point. This one 6 and this one 4. Normally, hitting, putting your opponent on the bar and making an inner board point is a strong move and the right move. But not in this case. Just the advantages of the race just outweigh, and the fact that the 2 point is a deep point, and we're not looking so much for deep points early on. And again, you hit. It's a big blunder to make the 2 point and not hit out here. One more example. And again, the 4-2, a strong play would be to make the 4 point, but that's not right. We want to hit. The opponent is threatening to escape his back checker. We put him back on the bar. Oops. Let's see this here. And now with the 4, generally the right play is going to be to move him up, which we covered in a different problem. But now we've moved our back checkers up. We've hit him on the bar. And again, he can't bar in double ones. He's not going to hit us here or be able to point on us here. He may hit us there. But if he does, we'll be able to hit back. Okay. Just go over this again. Look at what XG has to say about this. And we can see that the top plays are hitting, and the top play is moving up. Moving 2 down is also a strong play. It's slightly worse, but you wouldn't be too far wrong if you didn't. Hitting and moving up is not as good because you get a direct shot out of here. So any number coming in with the 6 hit you. So that's a blunder. But the biggest blunder, right? Even a bigger blunder is to make the 4 point. Now, those will go. Those will see the 4 point is a strong point to make. But if you have the option to hit, you got to hit, which is why this is the first proverb. Okay, so now we're going to. That's the basic rule. So now we're going to look at some kind of a quiz. We're going to put up some positions and just stop the recording until you figure out what the right play is and cite the right proverb. Now, this is easy. There's only one proverb, hit. So you should get all these right. Let's get in the practice of doing this, because when we get into the next proverb, it's going to be more complicated. And then we're going to try, and then we're going to go over some positions in which there are several proverbs that might apply. and you have to pick out the one that's most relevant, that has the priority. So let's get started with this. Number 6. Okay, so let's look at the position, and what do you think we should do? So you can stop the recording if you need to think about it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a sheet of paper to write it down and see how many of these that you get right. Again, not easy. You should get all of them right, but you know, the habit of doing that might be worthwhile to do. Okay, so we have a 4-2 to play, and you can make the 4-point, but obviously there's only one proverb, which is to hit. You can hit off the midpoint, and that's going to be the right thing to do. Now, in this case, making the 4-point is not a bad play. It's not the best play, but it's not a blunder either. Some of the other ones we saw were a blunder. The reason it's not a blunder is that while we're hitting him, we're only picking up 7 pips when we hit him. And so the race lead is, we don't pick up that much in the race lead. And then also being on the bar point, we're going to get hit a number of times because it's a direct 6. So anytime he comes in with a 6, 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 6, 5, 6, he's going to come in and hit. And then the 7s also hit. If he gets a 5, 2, a 3, 4, along with the 6, 1. So there's 4 more. That's about 14 hitting numbers. And so we could easily lose the racing lead that we picked up. But in any case, it's still right to hit. Okay, quiz question number 2. And according to figure this out, what do you do here? Well, there's one proverb that applies, and so we've only taught you one, which is to hit. So you should hit with this. She's going to take us time, but we're going to want to go from the putting him on the bar. And again, that picks up, gives us a race lead. It's only 10, but here, as opposed to the last one, we don't have the direct shot back, so we're not likely to get hit back, which makes it stronger. Then now the second best play is making the 5-point. Now the second proverb, there's second group of proverbs is going to be the 5-point. Is a very strong point, and you want to fight for it. That's why this is a good play, even though it doesn't hit. That's a real key point to base. But the first priority is to hit, so hit here. Okay. Okay. Now this is a trick one. So go ahead and figure out. We only have one proverb, so follow it and turn off recording or stop the recording and think about what you're going to do, and then come back and we'll do it. All right. So you've thought about it, and what do we do? Well, the proverb was to hit, but in this case, it's wrong to hit. Not by a lot, but it's wrong. Why is that? Well, the 5-point is a special point. It's the most important point. And you have the opportunity to get it. And in this case, the 4-2 example, where we hit off the bar point. By hitting, you don't pick up that much in the race. We're 3 ahead. We sent them back 7 pips. But you're likely to get hit so many times coming back that you easily give up the race. So for the 3-1, you also, one of the other problems with the is we've stripped the point here, and there's some disadvantages to that. But this is the one exception where anything out here, inner board, outfield, our outfield, this is the one case where you don't hit when you get to tree 1, which leads us into the next group of proverbs about the 5 point and the importance of the 5 points.